Oh god, I'm tired. I got a banger for you today. Okay, so here's a question. Do you deserve rights? Do you have the right to rights? And, most people would say, yeah, of course. It's my, humans are born with rights and freedom um, and everyone has rights. And I'm really fucking sick of hearing that, honestly, because it's not true. There's an example I'm going to use right now, and it is, would you give a 6-year-old the right to have a firearm? Of course you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you give that 6-year-old the right to have a firearm? Well, because they don't understand the firearm. They don't understand what could possibly happen if they pointed that the wrong direction and fired. They don't understand, and they don't have the responsibility. That's the key word here. Responsibility, okay? It's not a difficult word, but it's something that people don't really take into consideration a whole lot nowadays. So, the question becomes, when do you have rights? And when do you deserve rights? The answer isn't when you're born because I said so. The answer is actually when you have the responsibility to manage those rights. So, for example, trans rights. That's a good one. Do these people have the right to be trans? Well, are they taking the responsibility that comes with that kind of a step? I would venture to say not exactly, no. And it just really bothers me because a lot of these people really are kind of fucked up in the head. They have underlying mental issues that are pushing them towards this entire way of living. I'm sorry, I'm tired as hell today. This video's gonna be shit. But I think we have to talk about it. And if we can't talk about it, then we should be very concerned. Because these are things we need to talk about, okay? These are things that need to be talked about for our society to continue forward. And the most important thing is rights. We have the right to speech. We have the right to speak, to say our minds. But when you don't balance that right with responsibility, everything falls apart. So I think you have to do something that's very simple, but not very common. And it's called thinking. You have to process what you're going to say. Sorry. I just had like a macadamia nut chocolate. It was stuck in my throat. But listen, you have the right to speak, but you have to exercise that with the responsibility of not being a jackass. It's not that fucking difficult. It's basic. And you have to really think. That's all you have to do. You just have to think. Okay? So what does that necessarily mean? It means think. I think that we've transitioned from a time in which we are thinking and we are acting proactively into a time where nowadays a lot of people aren't thinking anymore, and we've switched into acting reactively instead of proactively, which is not going to fix anything. So the real idea is that in order to have responsibility, you have to think about your actions. And in order to have rights, you have to have responsibility. It's a balance. As soon as we have lots of rights and no responsibility, we start to see what's happening with, for example, drag queens, pedophiles. Um, there are a lot of examples that are just everywhere, where you can see rights that are being put over responsibility. And again, rights and responsibility has to be balanced. If you want the right, then you have to be responsible and take the responsibility for that right. A really good example that I'm seeing a lot of now is college. Do you have a right to college? Well, I don't know. That depends. Are you going to take the responsibility for the time, the student loans, the, possibly years of your life that it's just going to take to get a college degree? That's a lot of responsibility. But it's also, if you take that responsibility, it's also your right. So the idea that we're just going to, pay off all of the college students' loans, that's a bad decision. Why is it a bad decision? Because you're giving rights before responsibility. Okay? And in order to be an adult, and in order to act like an adult, you have to have rights in balance with responsibility. It's not difficult, okay? And you don't have to be 18 to understand this and do this, okay? Age is just a general gauge of your peers and everyone around you. So, honestly, there are a lot of millennials, 25 to 30-year-olds, or 21 to 20-year-olds, I guess, or 30-year-olds, that have no concept of this because they never grew up, okay? So they have no idea of the whole, you have to have responsibility in order to have rights. Because when you don't have rights and responsibility in a balance, then our culture collapses. Which is what we're watching right now. We're watching our women don't have children anymore. Why is it? Because they're getting jobs and they're following this narrative, which is not necessarily true, of, hey, let's empower women by getting them in the workforce and so on so such, and there's a lot of validity to that idea, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing it? Are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for your image? And before you do something like that, you really need to stop and think about what you want for your life. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with women in the workforce. I think women are essential in the workforce in a lot of places. And we'll get into a whole nother conversation here about why do we need women in the workforce? Why do we need men in the workforce? Why do we need each other in the workforce? And there's one really good reason. It's because just like you have to balance rights and responsibility, men and women balance each other out to make a cohesive team. Okay? Women are better at one thing, men are better at another. That is just the fact. If you don't like that, then you can, you know, talk to God or debate it with Darwin, because this is evolutionary, okay? Men, traditionally, they went out to hunt. They were more physical. They had to be more logical. And women, they stayed in their village, with their tribe, and they cared, were compassionate, and they provided care, they provided compassion, and they provided just overall emotion. And they're better at communicating. They just are. Okay? That being said, again, balance. So where a man might be good at one thing and a woman might be good at another, when we put them together, we're good at everything rather than just, as a team. And the reason that, men and women have been paired together for so long isn't because of patriarchy, isn't because of some, made up bullshit to make your feelings feel better. It's because women are good at one thing, men are good at another. When we come together and combine our resources, everyone flourishes. It's good for everyone. It's good for the man and the woman. Okay? So it's not very difficult to understand. But some people will fight it tooth and nail and say that it's patriarchy and a woman can do everything a man can do. And that's not true. It's just not true. And saying that it's true isn't going to help the woman or the man. But most of these people, they're not concerned with the women, or the men. They're concerned with the women. They want to put the women on top. And, having that kind of an idea that a woman can do absolutely anything, it's false. And it's just going to lead to more hurt in the long run for the woman. And on the same vein, the idea that a man can do absolutely anything and can take all the roles that a woman can, well, that's not necessarily true as well. You see, we balance each other out. But getting back into this kind of conversation of rights and responsibility, we kind of get to the point where, especially with the whole women's rights movement, which is a whole nother thing, because when you hear women's rights, it's just a term for women's slavery, okay? So they found a way to enslave women to the things that men have traditionally been enslaved to. Money, progress, reaching the next rung on the corporate ladder, that type of deal. They've really kind of become slaves, especially to one of the things that they say they're trying to avoid being slaves to, which is sex. Okay? When you act like a whore, you are enslaving yourself to others' desires and occasionally others' money. So you say you're liberated, you say you're free, yet you're enslaving yourself to sex, money, the desires of everyone around you, and the desires that you have in your mind that will never be satisfied. Ever. No matter what you do. If you continue living on this idea that this idea that you need to do all this stuff to be I'm trying to think of the way to put it, because I was going to say a productive member of society, but I guess it's not really that. It's more of an affluence. And it's very interesting, because it's like, well, I have to do all these things to be a perfect member of society. And let me ask you one thing: what is your perfection? What is it? What is it really worth if you're not happy? So which are you going to take? Because according to all of these, people, um, the whole movement is about, it's about you, okay? And it's supposed to be about empowering yourself and all of these things. But the question is, empowering yourself to do what? Are you empowering yourself to be happy? To enjoy your life genuinely? Or are you empowering yourself to be hateful and not really able to, fully enjoy your life because you're always chasing this idea of empowerment? And I think that's a really good question. So, I don't know. I'm off in the field here, but it's just the entire feminist movement in a lot of ways has been, and you can hear them say this. They might not say it directly, but they infer to it constantly. The idea is to put rights above responsibility. They don't want to deal with the responsibility, they want the rights. And again, as soon as you break this harmony of rights with responsibility, everything falls into chaos. And we see that now. The pedophile drag queens is a good one. It's a really good one. So the narrative was, let's be progressive, let's endorse these, these people that are so brave and empowered and powerful, let's embrace these people. And the question becomes, at what cost, and are we embracing them and empowering them because they do good things and because they are good people, they're good for our children, they are enjoyable to be around? Do they enrich our lives? Or are we doing it because, are we doing it because it's progressive? I have formulated my own answer to that, but think as you will. And I think it's very toxic, because I think there are a lot of women that are really suffering right now because they feel trapped. They've gone down this rabbit hole, and damn it, they've gotten to the end of it, and they are, they were expecting this promised land, but what they were really chasing was the social aspect of it. They weren't chasing the idea. They didn't necessarily want all of this, kind of new wave, everything about it. I'm not usually one to mince my words, but I do kind of want to dance around this topic because I have someone that I want to watch this video. And I'd like some people to watch this and really think about it. Deeply think about it. And not just, formulate an idea in their mind and then, or immediately, like that, like, oh, this guy's racist, he's a misogynist, he's, a horrible person. I want them to actually think about it. Okay? So if you've gotten this far into the video and you're just angry at this point, stop, listen to what I'm saying, deeply consider it, and then formulate your own response to me. Okay? because everyone's going to get better if we have a debate, and no one's going to get better if we just scream at each other. And that's the deal. But anyways, as I was saying, I think a lot of women are really feeling trapped because they've gotten to the end of this rabbit hole, and what they've found is that they are more hateful than ever, more depressed than ever. They've lost a lot of opportunities in their life, be it as it is. Whatever opportunities those might have been. It might have been an opportunity to have a family. It might have been an opportunity to... And I feel like that's the biggest one. A lot of women are starting to realize, they're coming to the end of this rabbit hole, and they're realizing, I wanted a family. And that has to be very painful, to know that you had so many years where you could have had children, raised a family, really enjoyed your time with your children, because that is really the most important thing that you can do in this world. That is the most important thing you can feel. The connection with your child is above anything else. And I think that a lot of people have reached the end of this rabbit hole and said, wow, I really wanted to have a family and do more. And they're very unhappy. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? Because there's two kind of ways to go about this. One of them is that you admit you're wrong, you tell your cautionary tale, and you try to patch your life up as best you can. But the other one, which I feel like is more common, is that all of a sudden this hate just comes out. It comes out by calling people racists, by calling people bigots, by calling people misogynist, for just having an idea that they want to talk about. Okay? And that's a very dangerous thing. And I don't hate these people. I feel bad for them, because at this point, they've reached the end of their life, the end of their journey as a adult, before they get into the older years where things are supposed to be winding down and you're supposed to be enjoying your kids and your grandkids and what time you have left, your golden years. They've gotten to this point where they're at the end of their kind of adult lifespan, and they are in horrible denial. They have so much pain in their heart that they can't, but they've done this for so long that admitting that they've wasted their entire life is just too much to do. And I feel bad for those people. I can't imagine wasting my entire time chasing things that don't matter. Money, social affluence. I can't imagine, because I would rather, again, is what you're doing for your life making you happy? Is it? If the answer is no, then I think that you need to look at where you are and what you can do to change that. Because if you're not happy in your life, then there's really no reason to be doing what you're doing, okay? If you don't enjoy what you do, then you shouldn't be doing it. If you're a woman and you are maybe, let's say, some sort of an office worker, if you genuinely enjoy that work and you don't want anything else, and you've really pondered deep into yourself and you have found the answer that, yes, this is what I want to do, I'm happy here, then do it. But if you are a woman, and I do feel like this is common, if you're a woman who got pushed into the idea of women should work, women should be empowered, all that, and it's not making you happy, then you shouldn't be doing it. you should do what you want to do to make you happy. You should enable that in your life. And again, what are we enabling women to do? Be wage slaves for the rest of their life? That doesn't seem like a very good compromise to me. To be slaves to sexual desires because everything has been so over-sexualized and everyone has been so desensitized that now women have to reach this absolute level of sexuality to satisfy these desires. That doesn't sound like freedom to me. That sounds like slavery. So, if you enjoy what you're doing, then do it. If you don't, if you're unhappy, if you can't, if you can't say that you're proud of what you're doing and that this is what you wanted, then you shouldn't be doing it. You should find a different path into your life. And that's just what it is. And again, this all ties back into rights and responsibility. In order to have rights, you must take responsibility. You must be responsible for your actions, for your thoughts. And if your actions don't come from your thoughts and they come from a social norm, maybe, then you can't take responsibility for those actions. You can agree with social norms all you want. That's absolutely fine. You can say, oh, I believe in social justice and in all this and all that, and I believe in being sensitive, and you can say that, and if you honestly believe it, that's fine. But if you're saying it automatically and you're not thinking about it and you don't believe it, that's where we start to encounter some issues, okay? Because what you're doing and what you're saying is not actually reflective of what you believe. And that's wrong. That's very wrong. So, I don't know. It's just, again, be responsible for your actions. Be responsible for your thoughts. If you think something, don't back away from it because it's what you think. Make sure it is what you think, though. Make sure that it's not just something that was put into your brain from somewhere else. Know where all your thoughts came from. Be able to trace them back. And then be able to say, yes, I do strongly believe this, and I will fight for my right to believe it. Because I do believe it. And if you believe something and you believe it deeply, you should fight for it. And you should take responsibility for it. Once upon a time, I was in school, and we had a lovely SJW girl who we got into a conversation about something in class, and I mentioned something, and she was disgusted. She was absolutely livid, disturbed. And she said, why do you believe that? Do you actually believe that? Oh my God, she was trying to shame me out of it. And I said, yes, that's exactly that's exactly what I believe, and here's why I believe it. Now, would you like to tell me what you believe and why you believe it? And you know what? She couldn't give me a response. She called me a bigot and a misogynist, and she walked the fuck out. And if you can't back up your thoughts with an argument, with a reason, with a strong passion, and with a belief, then you don't have responsibility for that argument, and it's most likely not your argument, so you should think about it. You should formulate the reasons. You should talk about why that makes you feel that way, and we're really coming to a crossroads here where we can either Yep, it stopped. It's fine. We're coming to a crossroads here where we can either pretend that, we can make pretend all we want, but it's not going to change the real world. And that is just how it is. I can say the sky is purple. I can pretend and believe with all my heart that the sky is purple, but the sky's fucking blue. And no matter how much I bitch and moan and swear to absolute God that that sky is purple, that sky is blue. And you can apply that to so many conversations. Drag queens aren't grooming people to be pedophile, or to be... Drag queens aren't grooming children to be abused. I can say that all fucking day long, and it doesn't make it true. Ever. Okay? We all know it. So why aren't we saying it? Is it because of some social reason? Is it because of some social norm where we can't say that drag queens are grooming children to be abused? Well, that doesn't seem very good to me, Because then we know something, but we're saying another thing. And that's not correct at all. So have the responsibility for your arguments. Have the reasons. Have the honest, formulated opinion in your mind and in your heart. And then be willing to stand up for that argument. Just like that girl said, wow, how could you believe that? I'm not going to, back away and cower and say, oh, no, it was just a joke. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to say that because you know what? It's actually what I believe. And if you believe something, then you shouldn't be ashamed of it. And that is just the absolute truth. I am so sick of pretending that, I'm so sick of pretending that I don't believe things. I will, if I say something is true, or if I say something is what I believe, then I will tell you. And I can give you my reasons. If you want to hear them, I will give you my reasons why I believe that. And you know what? If you come fucking across me and you say, wow, you know what? I really think that argument's skewed, and you give me a good fucking reason why, and you give me an entirely different argument, if I'm wrong, I will have the responsibility to say, yes, I was wrong. And that is one of the most important things you can do. If you are wrong, all you have to say is, yes, I was wrong. I have reformulated my opinion now, and things have changed. It doesn't mean that you're swish-swashing. It means that you were this person here, and now you're this person here, because time is linear. Okay? We move forward in time. Okay? Did you think Santa Claus was real when you were a kid? Yeah. No shit. You probably did. Do you think that now? Probably not. Well, congratulations. According to some people's logic, you're a flip-flopper. Sorry, let me adjust this. According to my logic, you've evolved. Because that's what people do. Our minds, our perception, our idea of the world evolves. Because it's just what happens. We get new information in, we put adjustments or even an entirely new opinion out. That's what happens. And you have to have the responsibility to say, yes, I was wrong, or yes, I was flawed or skewed, and here's my reformulated opinion. This is what I think now. This is my honest to God feeling. And you have to really, really give it, you know? And having a false argument, giving your false opinion, giving an opinion that you know isn't yours and isn't true, is going to do nothing to help anyone, okay? You have to get rid of that pride that you have of not being able to say that you were wrong, because let me tell you something, everyone's wrong. At some point or another, everyone has been wrong. Every single person on the face of this earth. So we shouldn't be ashamed of being wrong. We shouldn't have pride in not being wrong, because people are wrong. We're not infallible machines. We are wrong occasionally. It's just what happens. So let's not pretend that, you know, you're better than me because you were never wrong, and you're so prideful of your argument because it's absolutely perfect, because no argument's perfect. No one's ever not wrong at least once, okay? So you need to get rid of the pride from the idea that you are always right, because it's just not the truth, okay? So, I don't know. This is probably kind of a long one. Well, they're all long ones. That's about it. Balance your rights with your responsibility. If you can't balance the right with responsibility, then you don't deserve the right. And that is true with everything. Like, there are very few things that is not true with. So, yeah. This shirt's still kind of wet. I just pulled it out of the dryer. It was half done. I still haven't pinned the gas tube on the AR. I swear to God, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get to it. Oh, a few days ago there were some Homeland Security trucks out front, and I was just like, boy, they coming. I was just waiting for them to bust down my door and shoot me in the face. That's the next video I'm gonna make. How to deal with death. How to come to terms with the fact that you're gonna fucking die eventually. You know. That's gonna be a good one. But I don't know. Got off on a whole tangent there about feminism and women. And you know what? I really do feel bad for a lot of these women who have kind of gotten into this idea, and then they've gotten to the end of it and they realize that this isn't what they wanted. You know? I think before you make any decision, you should think through it very, very thoroughly and consider everything as best you can. So, yeah. I'm fucking tired. And I'm kind of sick of living in this apartment, I gotta be honest. I got some neighbors that are really loud upstairs. I'm sure you can probably hear them clomping around up there. I'm thinking of buying a house. I don't know. I'm just wrecked. Thinking of looking for a new job as well. I love my job, but man, it's wearing me out, and I don't know. I think I could use the change of scenery. This was kind of a transitional place for me, and I knew it would be, but yeah. Anyways, stay safe, y'all. I'll see you next time. Maybe I'll do a bolt bounce challenge. I've been thinking about it. I tested it. It looks good. I've got an Aero Precision nickel boron BCG and a Super 42 H1 buffer spring and tube. I had to get the tube. I just wanted the little Geisley on the end. It was too cool. Anyways, all right. See y'all next time.